Welcome everyone to the webinar for mastering test visibility and quality metrics at scale. So what are we going to talk about today? So it's basically about visibility into the different kinds of testing we do. What are all the quality automation metrics that we should care about at scale? And how do we know we're doing the right things? We're not doing something that is not so important. Visibility of everything that we're doing as a QA org, as a SDET org. How do we create that visibility in the entire org? And how do we ensure that we're moving in the right direction? That's what we're going to talk about. I'll introduce myself first. I think I'm I'm a group product manager at BrowserStack. I have been with BrowserStack for close to 5 years now, majorly building automation kind of products. Uh, but before BrowserStack, I was not always a product manager. Before that, I used to be a software engineer writing nuclear reactor control system kernels, operating system kernels, reactor control systems. Not really web development. I was an embedded systems engineer, and almost all the nuclear reactors in India, they have some piece of code written by me. That's what I used to do before I became a product manager. And who do we have with us here today? We have Andrei joining us from FanDuel. He's a lead quality engineer at FanDuel. And as you already might know, FanDuel is one of the largest sports betting, fantasy sports, and online casino companies in the entire world, servicing millions of customers every day. Andre, let's go ahead and introduce yourself maybe to the audience.
Thank you, Sora. Hello, guys. So I am Andrei. In FanDuel, usually I help the testers on enhancing their creativity, of course, by leveraging automation. I'm passionate about automation, mobile, embedded, web, you name it. And also this comes with the DevOps part. And lately, I'm engaging more and more towards a machine learning specialization, with gaining more knowledge on that area and how can machine learning and generative AI can help automation in the end. For my free time, I enjoy hikes, snowboarding, and of course, researching on various technical topics. So yeah, that's me.
Great. So let's get started. I think just some housekeeping items. I think this session is being recorded, and the session duration will be 60 minutes. We'll try to keep the session to 45 minutes, and so that we have enough time to answer all the questions that you might have. And the recording will be made available to all the attendees after the session, right? Cool. So we will be covering broadly, we'll be covering these topics today. I think we'll be talking about FanDuel's test automation journey, role of test visibility within FanDuel, FanDuel's current setup and workflows. It's mostly going to be Andrei doing all the talking, and I asking him a lot of questions basically. But I will also like to take some time towards the end talking about a solution to some of the problems Andrei has been facing at FanDuel, right? So something called test observability, which tries to solve some of the problems that we're going to talk about today. And I'll also be showing everyone how exactly those problems are going to be solved. I'll be doing a quick demonstration of a product as well, right? So that's majorly what we'll cover today. Moving on. Okay, why this webinar? Now, generally we don't talk about test visibility or this all too often, right? This webinar is because we want to tell the world about how BrowserStack as well used to face a very, very similar problem internally, the QA teams at BrowserStack, right? We have around 60 odd members QA team, and every single day when the regression tests, sanity tests, smoke tests used to run, a huge amount of time used to go into analyzing the test results, and there used to be a lot of false negatives, false positives, and whatnot, right? To an extent that every single day, around 2 to 3 hours of every single SDET's time was going into just analyzing results before the deployment decision could be made. this was just an unacceptable thing for us, right? So we decided that we wanted to solve the problem for ourselves. And later, we realized after talking to people like Andrei that, you know what, this is not really a unique problem to BrowserStack. This is a problem faced by everyone else. Most SDETs working out there is facing a similar kind of problem. And then we thought, why not make a product out of it? It can help everyone else as well, not just help BrowserStack. So we did that, and now we want to talk about it. That's why we're here. So with that, we'll get started with the topic of today. And before we really get into test visibility, quality metrics, some big terms, big names, complex topics, before going there, I wanted to ask Andrei, like, what has been really the evolution of test automation at FanDuel? Could you give all of us visibility of what really has been the evolution, and what are the different stages of testing maturity that you've gone through as an organization, FanDuel?
Yes, of course. So that was quite a journey, and it still is, to be honest. Giving you a little bit of context, FanDuel as an organization is spread on multiple countries. We have colleagues in US, we have colleagues in United Kingdom, we have in Portugal, and also in Romania. I myself, I'm from Romania. This means that we have multiple teams and multiple innovations which focus mainly on backend, front-end, machine learning, and so on. Our main products are casino, sportsbook, and racing. And all of these products are available in US and Canada markets. When I started in FanDuel, we were doing mainly exploratory. And don't get me wrong, I really am passionate about the exploratory part, and that's why I'm always researching on how I can leverage automation to nurture that part of creativity. But as an enterprise, we wanted to be number one. So the growth was very fast. And we as a team, as a quality engineering team, were not able to keep the track of the features delivered and how often were they delivered, because everything was pushing to our customers. And this having also a microservice architecture, I think we have around 15 or 16 microservices. So it's pretty much a big architecture on our side. As a pyramid, we had the unit testing layer, the mutation testing, the acceptance, the integration. But of course, we wanted more. We've investigated the contract testing to have more stability. And we reached to the point of UI automation for our end-to-end tests. On this part, of course, we did our due diligence, investigated various testing frameworks, programming languages, because we needed to keep an eye on those areas, discussed as a team, and we reached the initial phase with WebDriver IO for web, WebDriver for an Appium for Android, because it was a hybrid app, and for iOS we went with XC-test with Swift. And one of the things which is also, besides doing more exploratory and nurturing the creativity, is that I'm advocating for the decisions must always be taken as a team. There should not be like a sole person, like a lead to take the decision, but the entire team needs to have an input on a specific solution. So
Got it.
pretty much that was our main journey, like history until now.
Got it. So Andrei, it's a very curious thing that I have in my mind is that did this pyramid happen overnight? Or I'm assuming it might have taken a lot of time, right, to reach to the UI stage. How much time did it roughly take for you to just start with unit tests and go up to the level of UI automation?
So I think we loved and we still love to do parallelization, and everyone had a little bit of input, like the developers were doing the unit testing, the mutation testing. We had a joint effort maybe for the component integration QEs with the developers. And we also had help from the end-to-end part, from the UI part, again, a shared responsibility between the QEs and developers. But on this last part was mainly on the QEs. To give you a context, maybe the MVP, like having the end-to-end UI automation test in place with the CI/CD and things like that, I think it took around 1 year. Just that layer.
Wow. Wow. Oh, nice. Nice to know that. So what would be the current scale? Like, do you have a measure of the scale of testing that you do currently at FanDuel? Like,
yes, data is gold usually. So mainly I'm talking from a business unit, which is casino, but this is also can be extrapolated on bigger business units, but mainly on the casino and on the front end side, I think we have around 1.6K test cases. And I know usually there is a open debate always, like it can be a high number, it can be a lower number. It's debatable and depends on the context of having those test scenarios. But from my point of view, it's quite a lot. We are doing assessments on this number of tests. We are trying to leverage, like indeed the test cases and the automation of them are indeed targeting critical areas, and they are bringing value. Because let's be honest, the automation is to bring value, to nurture that creativity, to find more edge cases through exploratory, because we are testers in the end. Out of this number, like I was mentioning, 1.6K, we have around 250 automated. What I want to mention, and it's quite important on this number, is that these are the most critical ones from a product stability. Like we didn't start, we went with the priority, we've stabilized them. Like once something failed on those 250, it means that those test cases are like critical and we need to check them like yesterday. One of our strategies, which again, it's usually again a debate, can be wrong, can be good, but I'm not leveraging always for 100% full automation. It's like you can do it, but in the end, there needs to be the return, like the return on investment. If you're investing, I don't know, 2 weeks on automating a specific scenario, which might bring, I don't know, can be a P4, or it will not bring so much value. So you might want to do that maybe, or not do it at all, because you might do it, I don't know, once per year. This depends, of course,
very important point. I think
Yeah.
you brought a very, very important point, that it's possible to get 100% coverage of 100% automation coverage, but you choose not to do it because it may just uncover a P3 or a P4 issue, which you may not care about fixing. Interesting. So I think now let's get into the core of it. Like you told us that you have so many different kinds of tests and you have built the entire pyramid. You've invested on that. I can just start to imagine the nightmare you might have had to have complete visibility of everything. And by visibility, I think we mean that, okay, what is passing, what is failing? Is it really critical? Who should fix it? When it's getting fixed? All of it, right? All of it matters, I think, and we'll talk about it more. But let's first understand from our viewers what are the biggest challenges that everyone faces about test visibility. So, folks, maybe there is a poll. You will see a poll on your screens. The question is basically for us to understand what are all the test visibility challenges that maybe you guys face. We'll maybe pause for a few seconds and then move to the actual webinar topic. Interesting. I think a lot of people are mentioning so many problems that I can see on the screen. Awesome. We'll probably wait for 10 more seconds and then we'll move on. Cool. Moving on. So, Andrei, let's hear it from you. Basically, the question that I asked everyone. What were the challenges that you faced in terms of visibility into all the testing that you were doing at FanDuel?
All of those options and more.
Okay. Okay.
So, from where should I start? Once we had our MVP in terms of the automation framework, we had a round and that was it. Like everyone was running them locally. They had the test, and that's pretty much it. Then we started having a CI/CD in place where everything was running in Jenkins or Azure DevOps or any other tool. And we had the reports on the job level. Like everyone will be able to go on the job and see like how the testing framework reporter look like in terms of passed and failed. This was one of the challenges because we needed to have those reports pushed somewhere, I don't know, in the cloud, for other people who don't have access maybe to a GitHub action, to a CI/CD tool, for example, a product owner or I don't know, a VP. You will not mainly care if like you are pushing everything there, right? You will care like I need to have somewhere visibility for the test. So this was one of the reasons, having the visibility for the stakeholders. And this was the main challenge, to be honest, because we have a lot of stakeholders involved in, and everyone wants to see on a specific area the stats. Another reason was that usually, and I think all the people from this webinar can think on it, like you can take 1, 2, 3, or 4 hours on a daily basis to monitor the nightly results. Having the nightly results and monitoring them, that means that you need to have a solution for better debugging in terms of screenshots and videos. With this,
yes.
like you need to create the logic, do the screenshots, and where do you keep those? Like in a CI/CD context, you'll most likely have a solution, maybe cloud or maybe I heard cases maybe since you are running on-prem, like having an external hard drive and pushing that. There are like different like unlimited possibilities how you can, but there was extra logic on this area. So this would be the second reason, and reason mainly the challenge, I would say. Another challenge was maintainability. Like usually we had around 90% of our test cases were failing due to the same reason. So for example,
90%. Okay.
Yes, so there were cases like maybe new failures or already failing tests. We didn't have there were cases, maybe there can be an environment issue. There are cases, case from case. But there were cases when we had in one night 90% of failures. And around, let's say 70%, I would say they were mainly on the same reason. Maybe, I don't know, something failed on a session or a timeout. It usually was the same. And we didn't have a sum of all the checks which were failing with the same reason. And that was one of the critical points. And from my point of view, if you have that sum, mainly I'm calling them a quick win, because if you're having, I don't know, 60% of the test cases failing, you can point your effort on fixing the main reason, which is 60%, and then, of course, having 60% of the test cases passing, and then you can go literally down with the next reason and so on. So that's pretty much time optimization and allocation. And of course, cost, because everything
So basically prioritization. You're prioritizing to fix the biggest bucket first, kind of.
Yeah, because that would be the fastest return of investment in terms of leveraging those UI automation tests. As I said, I'm calling them quick wins because we are doing maybe a quick fix, depends. But even if you are spending one day, that one day will then propagate to the entire 60% of the test cases. Another challenge was stability and flakiness, especially in the UI context. Like flakiness is something like it's there. You can try, and you should always try to fix it or bring it as close as possible. It will not be 0%, but you should be always keeping a lower value, just also from a runtime perspective of your test. Even if you are adding retries, it's still, that means that you have a higher runtime in terms of tests. So we didn't have a clear overview on what areas and components are failing the most. And we wanted that data, like maybe, for example, we made a change, or there was a change from a developer perspective, from a automation, from a quality engineer perspective, which might have failed that specific component or components. We didn't have the data to assess. Did we break something in the automation framework? Did the development team break something? We didn't have that data targeted, because usually in an enterprise, everything is split based on teams. And you need to have that granularity in terms of visibility, except the entire, let's say, business unit. Yes, so another thing, like if I'm thinking, usually I think better to just sum the things. The decisions, and this is just my personal opinion, which I'm also advocating for, is usually the decisions must be taken based on data. And if you have the data, brings me to the final, let's say, challenge, which we didn't have, or would have liked to have, was a quality gate, because like you can have, I don't know, Sonar Cloud or any quality gate on the development side, on the code side, from a development perspective. But we didn't have, like, from a test perspective. Like, we don't want to always look, once we've reached to a specific point, we didn't want to look like, how is our stability? Like, we fix stability, but how can we make sure that we are not dropping? And usually you want to do that in a more automatic way, not just to always look there and do the manual part. Yes, there needs to be an assessment, but usually you want to have fast feedback in these cases. So yeah, usually data. That's mainly all of these challenges were like, we didn't have a lot of data and visibility to our stakeholders.
Got it. But Andrei, you mentioned all these challenges. Now I'm starting to think, none of the test reporting tools or any of the open source reporters, they don't solve really these problems, right? Then did you try to solve them? Did you do something about it? These problems that you mentioned?
Yes, and usually I think that's always the case when you are trying, when you have a challenge, you will try to fix or find a solution. So one of the things which we've tried was having a custom reporting system, which also in the current day we still have it. Pretty much what was this custom reporting doing was taking the entire results from the web, from iOS, from Android, and sending them in a more readable manner, like pass, failed, not applicable, skipped, and things like that, with the testing environment and things in a Slack channel. So pretty much you have a unified reporting where everyone, usually, I mentioned Slack because the Slack was the main tool of communication. At the beginning of the day, they had a number of tests based on the platform, the bill number, and so on. So that was one of the things. But this was like, it worked and it still works, but it doesn't provide us with perspective from charts or trend lines directly in the message. We did try to, link an Excel file to that Slack message, and then in that Excel file to open it and have the chart based on that data. But in the end, it was solving just a part of our challenges. Another solution was that we tried an on-prem storage solution, like having everything stored locally inside the office for our test. But that became costly in the end, because we had to have more data. We had the screenshot, we had the videos, everything. So Yes, we had the data retention part, like we did some tweaks on that side, but still that became, from a maintenance perspective and scalability, a nightmare.
Got it.
Thinking more, I think we also tried Kibana for having data, like we've managed to have the data source in one place, basically on the charts. But again, this was solving just a part of the challenges. Like I've presented you maybe with three points of three solutions, better said. And each of these three solutions were solving just a portion of the problem. One can provide visibility to the stakeholders which are not technical and also technical ones. Another one can provide charts and trend line, which you want to see a trend line, how you are doing. And usually we are mainly on charts. So yeah, it was to be honest, painful, but in the same time, usually when there is a technical challenge, thinking on solutions can help you on leveraging more others. This brings me to, we've tried also a dedicated tool from a third party provider, but that cloud solution mainly became quite expensive if we wanted to keep on their server. So in order to optimize the cost, because in the end, you want to keep the cost as minimum as possible from case to case, we've somehow did a hybrid, took their solutions, but used our own infrastructure. But using our own infrastructure meant maintenance and extra cost because we didn't have there was a server, everything was kept there. That means money spent and maintenance to have that up and running. So yeah, mainly these were, I think, from a test visibility, but these were the main solutions which we've tried. There might have been many, but yeah, I think there were a lot of them. And I think usually this was in a span of, I don't know, around 1 year. Like once we had the MVP, so we did all these spikes and investigations in 1 year.
It really must have been a big pain point for you that you tried multiple things within a span of 1 year. And as you rightly pointed out, maybe these are not really solving your 100% of the problem. Maybe these are point solutions. Maybe together they would solve around 50-60% of the problem, but not holistically. But let's try to understand from our viewers, how are you solving this problem? It's test reporting, analytics, visibility, debugging, monitoring. Today, how are you solving this problem? There will be a poll on your screens asking you specifically about what are you doing about it today as on date. And we'll pause for some few seconds maybe. Interesting. So we realize that a lot of our viewers are also users of BrowserStack already. So we have kept an option called BrowserStack Automate or App Automate Dashboard because maybe you're using that to do exactly what we are talking about. So that option is there because of that. Okay, we'll maybe pause for another 10 seconds and then we'll move on. Cool. Moving on. I think, Andrei, before we jump on to show how we try to solve this problem holistically, we'd want to understand, maybe everyone, not just me, everyone on this call would want to understand a little bit more about your existing setup. Like, okay, your stack. What all things are you using in your setup at FanDuel? You already mentioned WebDriver IO, I believe, but apart from that, how does your stack look like overall?
Yeah, so currently, like at the beginning, as I mentioned, there were like 3 frameworks mainly. And of course, that came with challenges, like the learning curve. Swift is a little bit different than TypeScript. TypeScript has a little bit of challenges and has a little bit of difference with JavaScript and so on. So the current setup mainly from CI/CD, we have like Azure DevOps, we have Jenkins, and we have also Buildkite. I know Buildkite is maybe a tool which is now against traction in terms of a CI/CD tool. But based on the project, we have different tools. So we have, for example, on certain projects, we have Jenkins. In multiple projects, we have Azure DevOps, but mainly we have also Buildkite as a FanDuel tool. Everything like goes around that part. We've shifted a little bit to again optimize the things. We've shifted the framework from 3 to 1. And yeah, I know it can be like, I think usually when you're talking in debates with people, every framework needs to have like separation of concerns on that part. But we wanted to optimize the things. We wanted to write better tests, faster tests, and accommodating our product. There were like, of course, there were like UI differences between different platforms, and there were extra logics in terms of statements, conditional statements for approaching this part. But it helped us like on the learning curve. People now are learning just a specific language, programming language. They are writing a test case. They are automating a test case on all platforms. If it's web, if it's iOS, or if it's Android, if the feature is applicable on all platforms, it's pretty much you are making sure that it works on all platforms, and then the test will run in the same context. So we've optimized that part. And it was challenging, and it's still challenging, but it was let's say a bet which we took, and it worked for us. There were cases like depending on the context. If you are writing fully native and you don't want to leverage Appium, for example, if you want to go with Kotlin and Espresso, or maybe you want to keep with the XJI test with Swift, that can be a case. But again, this depends from a project to project. But from our side, we've managed to leverage that into one single framework.
Got it. Understood. So, okay, maybe what we'll do is, because we tried to solve this problem holistically, we will give a glimpse of what we're trying to do to the entire audience. At the same time, Andrei, because I know that you are using this solution of ours already, you please feel free to pitch in at different stages where you feel that a particular feature you are using and how you're using it and how it is adding value to you and your setup, right? So we'll do it like that. We'll maybe probably spend next 10 to 15 minutes on that, and then we will go towards the last half of the webinar. So I'll share my screen and we'll get started with a quick demonstration of, and by the way, I'll be looking a little bit sideways because I am looking at the different monitor, different screen. So please pardon me for that. So, okay. So let me start by sharing my screen. I believe my screen should be visible. Right. So, okay. So this is BrowserStack test observability that we're talking about, right? This is the all-in-one test reporting, debugging, and analytics solution. Everything that we've been talking about here, we're trying to solve all the problems in one place, right? This is a classic standard marketing page. Every company builds a marketing page, right? When you build a product. But what we've done here is that we have built something called sandbox. And anyone and everyone can go and explore the sandbox. If you folks want to do it, you can do it. You don't even have to sign up for it. No sign up needed, no money needed, nothing. You can just go and explore it. And you can explore the entire product through the sandbox. I can do the demo as well on the sandbox, but probably I'll do it on a logged in account which has more data, better data in it, right? So I'll just close the sandbox, the marketing page, and let me take you to a logged in. This is a logged in account of mine. Now imagine you have already done the integrations of your tests with this tool, test observability. You might be running tests in any framework, language or framework. It could be a WebDriver IO or a Java TestNG or a Playwright or a Cypress or a API testing framework or a unit testing framework. So this is pretty much agnostic of the type of testing. It is also agnostic to the framework or language in which you write your tests. So any kind of test can be integrated using just a few lines of code change. We have an SDK that can be integrated with any test framework. We also have a JUnit XML report upload approach through which you can integrate pretty much anything under the sun. And you will, assuming that you have done the integration already, you will land on something like this. These are the key takeaways. What is your stability like? Is it improving? How many unit tests are you running? What are the always failing tests? What are the new failures in the last 1 week? So this is a very, very small snapshot of what's really happening. It's a very snapshot view of the world, right? But the SDETs, the practitioners, they don't really want a snapshot view. They want to get into the meat. Every day in the morning, you wake up, you grab a cup of coffee, and you want to come and see, okay, what has happened with my last night's regression? So let me go and let's take a look at all the builds that have run. Let's look at the regression. This is the last night's regression. Now compare and contrast this with the reporting tools that you have been using so far. Your reporting tool will tell you how many have passed, how many have failed, and maybe a little bit of history if you have integrated it well. That's it. And that's where it stops. Now, what test observability is telling you is that not just what has passed, what has failed, that's like the vanilla information. Along with that, we're telling you, okay, what are the new failures that are detected today that was not there yesterday? What are the always failing tests? What are the flaky tests? And I think, Andrei, you were talking about something like what are the unique reasons behind failure right now? Now, that's exactly what we're doing. Like, we're telling you that, okay, even though you have 102 failed tests, we have only 11 unique reasons behind those failures so that you can actually prioritize that, you know what, this one single reason is responsible for 46 tests failing. Let me look at what this is. Let me debug why this error happened. And I don't have to spend time 46 times. I don't have to go through each and every test that has failed. I just need to go through only the new unique errors. That's how we're saving time. Andrei, would you like to add, like, how are you exactly using this?
Yeah, so one of the things which helped us, mainly giving, again, the context of having just a single framework which satisfies pre-platform, we've taken leverage of that project level. Like you can have different stats based on, I don't know, web. Even if you have one framework, you can have different projects for any platform. And ideally for any platform, because there can be differences, you can have these stats and the dashboard. It's really cool. We are using the bulk update, for example. Once we are fixing the top unique errors, we are using the bulk update part. Like it's easiest to
Let's say this is a CSS. Let's say this is a CSS issue or a environment issue. Let's say,
we've created different categories based on our case. Maybe it's an environment, maybe it's an automation framework, maybe it's an product bug. So yeah, we've managed to have that custom for our. And the best thing is, like, on this unique errors, you also have the video. Like if you're going to go to the failed test, you have the video, and you can add the comments. You can collaborate with everyone. Like you add a comment. This is an environment. I'm going to investigate it. You can have maybe a link with a Jira ticket. It's really helpful on this area. Mainly, we are using this mainly on the insights. You have currently, as Surav shows, it's mainly on the test, but you can create multiple views. In terms of, you can have only the failed test in the insight. You can have a specific view. So we are leveraging that also for better targeting our effort when we are drinking that coffee.
Got it. So, like I said, right, you can prioritize which all reasons you want to look at. Now, moving on, we have something called quality gates. Now, what does quality gate do? So, what after talking to maybe hundreds of customers, what we've realized is that the key reason why a lot of the users, a lot of the customers are not able to do continuous deployment is because of not having green builds. Like, you don't really have builds with where all the tests are passing. That's that's like a dream for many companies, right? So what is really stopping us from doing CD? Is it the noisy failures or are they really product bugs? As Andrei, you pointed out, right? There are actual product bugs which you would want to fix before deploying anything to the production. But many times it is not really a product bug. It's an environment issue or a false failure, maybe a flaky test. Should we not do CD, continuous deployment, because you have all these false negatives? The answer is no. That is the reason why we designed this quality gate functionality, where you are at the driver's seat. You decide what kind of rules you want to set, what kind of quality rules, quality thresholds you want to set, which determines whether this build or this PR is good to go or not. And basis the quality gate evaluation, you can actually do the deployment automatically. What I'm trying to tell you is on your CI, let's say Jenkins or GitHub Actions or whatever CI, you run a bunch of tests. At the end of tests, your custom quality gate profile will run and spit out that whether it's a green or a red. If it's a green, it could be a green because there are no real failures. There are noisy failures. There are no new unique errors, no new errors for that matter, no new failures for that matter. You can just get the quality gate green status, and based on that, you can pass your Jenkins build and then go ahead with the next stages of the pipeline. That's how powerful it is, right? Now, there are other things we are doing, like, for example, we just saw error category tagging. Is it an environment issue? Is it an automation bug? But not always, right? Sometimes it's product bug as well. Like QEs are supposed to be finding product bugs, and it just simply justifies your work so much more when you know that, okay, there are 100 failures, but then 60 of them are not my problems because these are environment issues. Some other DevOps team should be fixing it. I am catching 10 product bugs. Well, there are 30 automation bugs that my team needs to fix. So you have full clarity, full visibility into what's happening, really. And you get to do that. Now, this is just insights. I have not even got to the report part. When I go to the test report, which is like when you see this, you should compare it with, let's say, a HTML report like Allure or some other report, open source report that you might have been using, right? Now, a test report is supposed to tell you which test has passed, which test has failed, and what is the reason of failure, and that's it. Where we go above and beyond is that we support both BDD, TDD, by the way. We have automatic linking with the source control. For example, I can just click on this and go and look at the actual code on my GitHub. I do have commit linking, the CI backlinking, all the linkings are automatically done. I can see what is the failure. I can see the history of that test. Now, you might wonder, why is this a new failure? This test has been failing for the last 10 days. Why is this a new failure? It should not be a new failure, right? On the outset, it just looks like that. Any other report you will look at, it will just tell you that. It's not a new failure, it's a failing test. But if you go deeper, really, this is a different reason. Yesterday, it failed due to a different reason. Day before yesterday, it failed with a different reason. Today, however, it's a new reason altogether. Now, let's imagine you have a test which tests maybe 10 different steps in a user journey. Generally, it's a flaky test or a failing test which fails at step number 8 every day, and you just don't care about it. Today, it failed at step number 3, and it might be a genuine product bug. Now, since test observability is telling you that it's a new failure and it's a flag, you should care about it, this change will not go unnoticed. You can take action because it's a new failure. You will not let it pass. And thereby, you can avoid a production defect leakage to production. Who knows, maybe a possible downtime on production. You can avoid that scenario, right? Now, this is just an example of how new failures, always failing, all these smart tags, as we call it, helps. But Andre, I think you are also a little bit of a fan of smart tags, but would you like to tell us how exactly you use this feature of smart tags?
As you mentioned, Surab, mainly our top priority will be like new failures. That's one of the most important tags which we are looking at the start of the day, because we need to focus. It's a bug, product bug. We need to address it like today, to have it taken as prioritized and taken inside the sprint. So we are using that, and we are also using the labeling part, and like all of you can see product bug or to be investigated. That one of the things which I saw, and I think is mentioned on the right side, is like once you are doing labeling, like at the beginning can be troublesome, don't get me wrong, but once you are starting to do the labeling on a daily basis, and especially only on the failures, or you can go iteration like only on the new failures, then it will auto-analyze those run based on the top failure reason. Like, for example, if the test is failed with the same reason, it will be auto-analyzed like this is a product bug or environment. But if again it will be a new failure, then it will help you again to investigate it and to check it. And then brings again to the quality gate, like you can set quality gates based on the new failures. And for those always failing, you can have them with a lesser priority. Or you can mute them. There is a
Right.
capability of muting those tests.
Right. Yeah.
This one.
You can mute a test, it will just vanish away from the report. You can create a Jira ticket. You can just create directly a Jira ticket from here. You can rerun a test. You can, as I think Andre, you were also mentioning about comments. You can collaborate with other engineers in the team using comments, right? They get to know exactly what is failed. And not just that, they get to see the entire artifacts all in one place, like the video, the logs, the screenshots, every single thing that a test case generates, right? Now, when I say everything, it's everything. If you do a console.log in your code, we captured that as well. If there is a Selenium command, playwright command, we captured that. Device logs, network logs, even backend application logs, all kinds of artifacts generated by a test case is right here for you to make sense of the debugging and do it faster. For example, you see that, okay, the test has failed in step number 22nd. Just before the failure, you see the screenshot, what was really on the screen. And you can see, okay, which step has failed. Just before the step, has something failed on the network side? Example, we just saw this. This is a 404. Now, when logs from different sources are coming together in one consolidated timeline, it just starts to make sense, all of it, right? And you probably don't have to do any more debugging anywhere. You just know that, okay, this has failed because of this reason. And you can take next steps from there itself. Now, that's how we designed it, so that the time needed to go through a test report or test results reduces drastically. If you used to take 2 hours, that should come down to 10 minutes. Now, that's how drastically we want to reduce the amount of effort that you are spending today, right? So everything that we're doing in test observability is meant to save time somehow or the other. Build comparison is something we're building. Build the quality gate that I talked about is going to save time to the extent it's going to make it zero, right? Now, in the interest of time, probably I'll proceed a little bit faster because we're almost time and we have to take some questions as well at the end, towards the end. So this is the reporting piece where you get to see all the results. Now, not just that, test observability solves other visibility problems, like we said when we started, right? What is the overall health of your test cases? What are all the top failing test cases? For example, you see these are like 99.97% of the time these are failing. Now, not just that visibility, what are the top slow test cases? stop failing test cases. Not just that, you can actually debug more into it. You can go deeper into it and understand. Now, this I'm looking at 6 months worth of data, and you see the entire timeline of this test. Okay, has it been failing on one device, one combination, or has it been failing across my browser devices combination? This is a browser test. It could be, you could do it, you could do this for an API test as well, for a unit test as well, or any kind of test for that matter. For example, this is a very good example. This has been failing and then suddenly it becomes flaky at this point of time. Okay, what really changed? You can go back to the source and see what has really changed. So you can go back in time and debug at that point of time, right? So you can do this. And we realized that there is not a single dimension to doing this. There are actually two dimensions which people often overlook. We're looking at all test cases. We always look at all test cases. What we never look at almost is that what are all the unique errors? What are all the reasons, unique reasons? Now we have a view for that as well. We tell you what are all the top priority problems for you, right? And we help you decide which ones to fix first, right? For example, this problem, this is impacting so many number of tests, so many times. You can go deeper into this error at the same time, right? Now, the other part of test observability is tracking of automation KPIs. You can create custom dashboards, custom widgets, custom dashboards, any kind of metric you want to track, any kind of KPI, automation KPIs that you care about at a team level, at a project level, at an individual level. You want to compare stuff, you can do all of that, right? You can have dashboards for yourself, for your leadership. You have that complete visibility into automation metrics and how you're improving or maybe not improving with time, right? So that you can justify the investments you are making into automation, right? So I did not touch upon a few other aspects. For example, we also have alerting, configurable alerting, notifications like Slack, email. We are also building ops monitoring tool notifications. For example, you want to get notified when something breaks or something fails into your pager duty or maybe ServiceNow or Ops Genie. Those kinds of things are also under the works, right? So we also want to become alerting systems for SDETs, for the QE persona, like quality engineering. So this is in a nutshell what test observability has to offer. So I think there would be a question on your screens asking about whether you would want to try this product for your organization, like for your testing. And like I mentioned, this is not just for your UI tests, not at all. And it doesn't bother about where the test is running. It could be running on BrowserStack, it could be running on your local laptop, AWS Grid, it could be running anywhere. Any kind of test running anywhere can be supported on this tool, and it's going to give you the complete visibility, right? Thank you. Thank you so much for you taking out the time and hearing us out, hearing Andrei out, hearing me out about the automation journey at FanDuel, and hope to see you in many of our upcoming events. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.